of July 5th, 2018 will come to order. First agenda item is ordinance number 1930, an ordinance to amend the operating budget of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland for the fiscal year July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. I think Lisa's presenting, is that correct? You have the microphone, Lisa.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President, Mayor, Council. I'd like to begin that this is the first amendment of the FY19 operating budget. It is increasing the overall budget from $32,071,586 to $33,328,249. We are utilizing savings and expenditures and additional revenues to provide funding for our other issues like major HVAC repairs, additional pension contribution, transfer to CIP, which projects will be determined through a separate ordinance. We also have adjustments based on administrating the financial activities of the 4th of July committee and the use of C's currency. Okay. We also are making additional contribution that was recommended by the actuaries of $250,000. During the Mayor and City Council 16 years, we have made over $2 million in additional contributions to the pension fund.
That it?
That's it.
Okay. Questions for Lisa? Mr. DeWalt?
Lisa, I have the ordinance on the second and third page. It's printed, or it's in red. Is that all the extra monies that we're dealing with there? Everything is written in red numbers.
Minus. That's a minus.
That's minus.
Yes.
So where exactly are the expenditures that we have left over? And how much is that total?
Okay, I actually do not have that answer in front of me, but I will get that answer for you.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. Mayor?
Mr. DeWalt, if you go down on page 2, I guess it is. I'm looking at the second page, I guess, Carl.
Yes.
You'll see the grand total of expenditures, and then on page 1, you'll see the changes, the grand total of revenues as well. So that's it's got to remain balanced. So on the revenue side, we're showing 1.256663 in extra revenue, and then what on the expenditure side, we've adjusted that. You'll see 1.256663 in expenditures. So like on expenditures of 10225, budget and personnel services, we made a change of 7,500, and that was an addition. So then it brings that grand total up. In my city administrators or mine, you'll see where it's a deduction. So the grand total of changes is 1256663. I don't know if that helps you out or not. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Sidnor?
I have no questions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Keith. Ms. Nicholas?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Smalls?
Mr. President, I have no questions at this time.
All right, I'll applaud the administration putting the additional money into the pension plan pool. This has been an ongoing effort by the Mayor and City Council over the last 13 years. I think we started 13 years ago, when we realized that the pool might not be sufficient at current rates of return to fulfill the obligations to the retired employees. And I want to thank the mayor and the administration we're putting another 250,000 into it. This is a problem that's facing municipalities all across the United States. I recently gave an article to Mr. Fleming and and the mayor and Mr. Goddard. But what happens is you end up in a situation like California where they're actually cutting pensions to retired employees because they cannot meet the obligations that CalPERS obligated themselves, 20, 30 years ago to those employees. So again, I applaud you. If there's no objections, we'll have this on the agenda for the Mayor and City Council meeting Monday. Is everybody okay with that? Hearing no objections, it'll be on the agenda. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Move to agenda item number 2. Resolution number 3-18, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Laurel, Maryland, supporting the city's participation of the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development Main Street Maryland program and applying for designation through the program. All right.
Good
Christian's
evening.
going to make the presentation, so you've got the mic, Christian.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, and council members. The resolution before you is seeking support for the city to participate in the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development Main Street Maryland program and apply for designation through the program. Main Street Maryland is a comprehensive downtown revitalization program that was created in 1998 by the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. The primary objective of the Main Street Maryland program is to foster economic development in the state's core communities, preserving local historic and cultural resources, while promoting new investment as well as business development. The program uses a 4-point revitalization approach to create vibrant neighborhoods and thriving economies by working on the following: design, organization, economic vitality, clean, safe, and green neighborhoods. Currently, the program has 28 cities that are designated. Ellicott City and Hagerstown were the last 2 communities designated in 2014. If the city's application is accepted and approved, Laurel will be the first jurisdiction within Prince George's County to obtain designation. The benefits that are included in the program include technical assistance and training, revitalization planning assistance, access to resources and information, as well as marketing opportunities and grant eligibility. Designated main streets are a one-stop shop for boutique shops, restaurants, historic architecture, art galleries, recreational, and various events for all to enjoy. It would be beneficial for the city to be designated as an official main street through the state as the corridor continues to transition and become a wonderful community for all to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Questions? Mr. DeWalt?
Christian, is there a reason why, have we applied in other years since 1998, or is there a reason why we're just becoming this now?
No, we haven't applied in other years. About 2 years ago, we were going to apply for the affiliate program, but once we submitted our application, the coordinators for the program said we shouldn't apply for the affiliate. We should just go for full designation because our community was primed for the designation.
Okay, and they judge that on everything that you basically said. That's what you have to you have to submit to them.
Yeah, we have to submit an application. Coordinators of the program already came and did a tour of the city of the Main Street area, and they were actually at our Discover Laurel Day in May.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. Mr. Sidnor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just pulling out a couple of questions for you. I think it's an excellent idea, though. Like, will we get funding from the state, or will the city fund some of the projects for this?
We would be able to apply for grants, but we would have to be approved for some of the grants that they offer.
Okay.
A lot more stringent, too.
Okay. By being on the list, though, give us a heads up, some kind of leeway, right? With being designated as a Main Street city, would that take any weight with the state? They be able to take that in consideration that we are designated as a Main Street city?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm sorry. Being a Main Street city, would that state, when you write a grant, would that give us any upper hand on receiving any funding?
I believe it would, because there are a lot of grants through the program that communities are eligible for, but priority goes to communities that are designated. So I think it would be beneficial.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sidnor. Ms. Nicholas.
Yes, I think this is an excellent program. I've read about this in other municipalities. Yeah, I think it's good. I have some questions, but I'll ask you at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. Mr. Smalls.
Ms. Pulley, can you talk a little bit about the types of grants? I mean, based on what you know that the city could possibly apply for, what the benefit?
Some of the grants that the city would be eligible for through the program would be the Community Investment Tax Credit, the Community Legacy Fund, Strategic Demolition Fund, a grant that's for neighborhood business works, and operating assistant grants. I do believe there are a few others that help with street maintenance, like if you wanted to do sidewalk repair or install light fixtures and stuff of that nature. So it's a wide range of different grant and funding opportunities, but that is some of them in short.
Now, I know that you and your staff have been looking at this for quite some time. So I'm curious to know, based on your research, what tangible kinds of things under this program could we expect to see?
Hopefully, one of the biggest things that we'll be able to see is just transformation for some of the facades for some of the older properties are down on Main Street in the Route 1 corridor, where some of the properties are that are a little bit older, where they could transition and can become rehab, and then also hopefully to bring new businesses or some different businesses that are currently not on Main Street. Sorry. Yeah.
So we already have a couple of programs that are designed to help revitalize or enhance businesses on Main Street. Would being a part of this program enhance, complement, or eliminate any of those?
I think it would be a combination of enhance and help us to take us to the next level. I mean, because I think our economic development programs are doing a good job for some of the business owners and property owners on Main Street. But I think being a part of this program will actually help us improve the community even more.
Okay, and finally, this is focused solely on Main Street, but can you tell us geographically what that encompasses in terms of, one end of Main Street to what end of Main Street?
So the idea for the program is to create a walkable community. So it'll go from Main Street from end to end, but it'll also encompass parts of Washington Boulevard, 2nd Street, and a portion of Prince George's Street where there's the vacant property that's been for several years. I think it's 321 Prince George's Street. So we're just trying to create a walkable community where people can go on the side streets, which is A Street, B Street, C Street, Avondale, to go to Riverwalk Front Park, and then just hopefully create an environment that's walkable where people can come, park their car, and then go shop, maybe take in a show or eat and do different things.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smalls. Mayor?
I think the other thing that's important is this also gives us the support of the state and national. There is also a national Main Street program that this will help with. This enhances what we already have, with sustainability in parts of the Main Street area, but it'll also help and support small business. It'll help in the economic viability of the street. There's Main Street promotional that they do. There's advertising they do, state and national. Also a safe and green enhancements that they work with, and they work closely with the business community. So I think what Christian is her staff have put together only enhances what we are attempting to do and continue to do on Main Street. It's not easy. It's something that almost every other day we're trying to find new ways to keep the street viable and put traffic on the street, foot traffic. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, if I
Thank
could
you.
just follow
Ms.
up with
Smalls?
one other question. I know there was an event a couple of months ago with the businesses on Main Street. sort of talk about this program and others. But what are you finding in terms of comments coming from residents and business owners along Main Street regarding this program?
Well, we received a letter of support from the Laurel Board of Trade as well as the Economic Development Corporation from Prince George's County. The Laurel Board of Trade thought it would be a good idea for this program to take place for the city and become a part of it. I also know that some other business owners on Main Street are in support of the program and think it would be a good job for the city. I do know a couple business owners would like to see the kind of event we did in May to take place every month. I don't know if that's something that we can possibly do, but I think it was a good start for the event we had in May, and just to continue to try different things to enhance the viability of the community.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. All right, if this is good to go, we'll have this resolution on the agenda for the mayor and city council meeting on Monday. Is everybody in agreement? Okay. Move to agenda item number 3. Resolution number 418. A resolution to approve an interlocal agreement for enhanced 911 public safety answering point, PSAP service between the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland, and Prince George's County, Maryland. Chief, you have the microphone.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, council members. Before you should have a memo dated June 22nd, 2018, with the subject matter of recommendation to authorize the mayor to sign Prince George's County Public Safety Interlock Agreement. Over the last year, we've been meeting with Prince George's County in regards to Next Gen 911, which if you followed it, it's going to be texting, it's going to be text 911, it's going to be a lot of different things. They are offering us a package which includes CAD, which is a computer-aided dispatch, and RMS, or records management system. What this will do, it will integrate the City of Laurel within Prince George's County and other municipalities, most of whom have already joined. It provides real-time information in regards to warrants, stolen autos, arrest photos. Everything will be interchangeable within each agency, so it'll all be shared. It is a CAD RMS system. It will allow for reporting to include arrests, and thereby utilizing the central booking the way it was ultimately intended to be, of the sharing of the arrest reports, the sharing of the photographs, and everything being electronically transmitted as opposed to being written here or authored here, printed, and taken to the commissioner's office. It'll be a simple transition, is what I've been told, with the county, and the county will provide training for all staff. We'll do a train-the-trainer type scenario for our records section, our communications section, as well as the patrol officers and the supervisors. The cost for this transition is about $42,000, earmarked in the line item, and that's for the licenses. Earmarked in the CIP is approximately $80,000, which adds a little buffer room to help to facilitate the mobile field reporting and other miscellaneous costs. The immediate savings the city should see is approximately $70,000 based on what we're currently paying for our current CAD and our records management system. So it should overall be a cost savings of about $70,000. That would be my presentation, unless anybody has questions.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. DeWalt.
Chief McLaughlin, will this have any effect on the 911 calls? That are we able to get them directly to us, or will it remain the 911 call center and they still notify us?
The short answer is no. We are not a PSAP. We're not an answering service center. However, when they take the information, it will be automatically transmitted via computer. So there won't be, when the call's transferred, all the information they've already obtained is already available to our dispatchers. So they won't have to go back and get that information. It'll automatically pop up on their screen of the information that has already been obtained as far as the location, the type of crime, and whatever details have already been obtained. So in essence, what it'll do is it will shorten the amount of time between, or the repetitive motion of giving the information for the call to Prince George's County 911, then having to repeat it to us. It's all automatically obtained, and it automatically transmitted, and it's auto-populated into our system.
So is that going to be the when the 911 caller gets the call and puts the information in, Is it through the computer system itself? Does it automatically get forwarded to us immediately, and the dispatcher is going to see it with all the pertinent information on it?
Yes, what'll happen is that will automatically happen, and they will also be transferred to call for supplemental information. For an instance, a DWI, they're behind a car that's a DWI. All the basic information is obtained. It's automatically transmitted to our dispatcher. They have it in front of them. They will also get the call so that they can maintain the current information and updated information.
So it's definitely going to be a lot faster.
100%. And the other thing is again, with the CAD RMS, with the central booking, what we're doing is we are writing the charging document here, having to print it out, triplicate, and then take it down to the commissioner's office. The commissioner he'll be able to pull it up down there. Everything will be done down there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. Mr. Sidnor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Chief, I have a couple of questions. I think this is a great system, though, but just a little. I just want to know how the system works. I'm reading the paragraph on the second page. You have the Prince George County criminal warrants would now be immediately available to an officer on his mobile terminal before he contact an individual. I'm wondering, like, what do they have right now? But I look at my job, for example. I have access to a Washington area law enforcement system, also NCIC. I can run warrants on folks before I see them. So I was just wondering why come they don't have the information now when the officer pull a person over. If I'm reading something, I'm interpreting something wrong. That if you have a warrant, outstanding warrant, you should be able to see that immediately, right?
You should be, yes. However, Prince George's County Sheriff's Department handles a lot of warrants, and every day warrants are issued through the court system, and they're entered into the system. They are not entered into NCIC. We are not connected to their system currently to get real life information. I mean, we may get old information on warrants that were in the system that really are not in the system. It's not updated as quickly as we would like it to be. This will give us real life information.
Okay. Yeah.
And direct input into their system.
Okay, thanks. It's good to know. I wasn't aware of that. I thought you guys been in Prince George County. You have automatic access to the Prince George County warrant database. So we definitely need to get that system fixed. That's kind of, yeah. When I read that, I was like, wow, you don't have access to the county. All right. Well, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Sidnor. Ms. Nicholas.
Well, I'm always in support of what's going to help the officers. You have my support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. Mr. Smalls.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, just a couple of really easy questions. $42,000 for licensing. Is there any other anticipated cost? Do we have to replace any hardware? It mentions in the memo about some possible modifications to police cars, but is there any other costs other than licensing costs that you think you may have to incur?
Based on the conversations, I think they'll be minimal. A lot of our stuff is, and I'm not an IT guy, but it's pulled from the network, and it's all entered through the system. I think this may require air cards or an upgrade on our what's that called, Kevin? The wireless upload that they do at the station and at the fuel pump. Yeah. There's a name for it, but all that information is taken from the computer and it's uploaded into our network through those hotspots.
Okay. I read this sentence here next to the last sentence on page 2. Once we are licensed and up and running, the county will pay for all recurring costs. Is that forever? Is there a date to that? I mean, how does that work? Is the county going to incur? Is that license updates? What costs are there?
So our current annual recurring cost is $70,000.
Right.
So once we come up licensed, which we think is going to be about mid-40s, and that's really the CAD workstations. Basically, the county has said they currently have an agreement out to 8 years. They're covered to 8 years, and where we would fall under that. So the expectation is that at least for 8 years, they're paying all recurring. They're indicating they're going to honor all that. Although we do have to be conscious of the fact there are elected officials that could down the road make other decisions. But right now, they have a paid system out 8 years, an agreement with Motorola, and we will fall under that. So we're well over $500,000 to $600,000 in savings over those 8 years and what we would be paying out. And we're going to get some great benefits.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So the answer is, yeah, there's potential down the road that we could end up picking up recurring costs, but I think we're good for at least 8 years.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Let me ask just one question. Because this is communicating with this system with our system, correct, Kevin? Are you working with their cybersecurity people to make sure there's no backdoor for them to get into our system? I assume you are.
So the connection will be over the iNet, and that's why we're connected to iNet now.
Right.
We actually had communications with their engineer today. We'll be whiteboarding our connections.
Okay, good.
Our firewall connections and how that's going to work. We will have connection to their network on the public safety side, and the other aspect is the officers will have connection to our network to do email and access their files in the NBTs. So there's a way to do that,
You're on top of it, I hear.
yes, we're on top of it.
So I have one more question. It's actually directed to the chief. There's another database that most people don't know anything about. It's called the terrorist database. I think FBI maintains that, or somebody downtown maintains that. I know our personnel access that for certain things. Do your officers have access to that terrorist database?
We do not have direct access. However, we have the Maryland Center for
Okay, so you go through
MCAC, yes.
You go through a gateway to get to
Yes,
it.
sir.
Okay, real good. Okay, so that answers my question. All right, thank you. So if everybody's all right with this, we'll go ahead and have it on the agenda for Monday's meeting. Thank you. Move to agenda item number 5. Status update regarding small cell tower legislation. Kevin, you have the microphone.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, council members.
I'll come back to that.
Just want to take a couple of quick minutes tonight to update you on small cell and where that is headed. I think we spoke to you probably about 4 or 5 months ago. MML had there were some opportunities to get some education on small cell. I think one of the actual vendors was there and was taking people around. Small cell in Maryland is still moving a little slowly. I think most of you are aware that there was an effort at the legislature this year to push through some legislation that would have usurped local government and county governments and put it out to state and essentially allow the small cells to come into our right-of-ways and do what they wanted to do. There was a lot of pushback, and that now is I think we'll see what happens the next legislature. But the small cell is really the future of the cable industry and internet and how you're going to get it. And the move is to put a box in your neighborhood on a pole, and you will get your TV and your internet wirelessly. Cables will get disconnected to the house. This is a nationwide technology move, and there are several players, and you understand the fact that right now a franchise is required, and to touch every municipality, every county, and to do a franchise nationwide to roll out 4G, and they want to move on this, it's problematic to do that. So there's work at the federal government level. The FCC is going to take this up. We don't think it's going to happen in August due to vacations and the end of the summer, but it is very likely that in September or October, the FCC will take this up and potentially could rule and say that 5G is coming at the county and local governments, and they will have the right to put it in our rights-of-way. In the meantime, before all that happens, we are working still to put what will likely be a franchise first, and then followed up by an ordinance. That's the discussion we have now. We're probably at the 90% point of a completed franchise template, and we hope to have that done, I would say probably by beginning of August. We do have AT&T talking to us right now. I think they have some sites they want to come in on, and we will have a franchise, like I said, template about ready to go, I think, by the beginning of August. We're close. And then that will be followed up, as I said, by ordinances based on experience. But this is moving fast by the telecom industry. They're moving it fast because they want to get 5G rolled out. And to do, like, as I said, to do a franchise at every municipal government level. And in Prince George's County, there are a bunch, just locally. That's where we are.
All right, Kevin. Mr. DeWalt, questions?
Just a couple questions, Kevin. So to understand, so that I understand this a little bit better, we're gonna give this one company to come in and do all this, our right-of-ways?
We have one talking to us now. There will be multiple.
There
at
will?
some point. There will be multiple, yes.
Okay, and we're going to give them access to the right-of-ways, which are the telephone poles?
They will have an agreement with us to access our right-of-ways, yes.
Okay, and the money aspect of the whole thing, they will pay the city for accessing those right-of-ways?
There'll be a permitting fee. They'll have to get a permit. There'll be a fee for that, and then there will be an annual fee to be in our right-to-way.
Okay, then the homeowner or the business owner or whoever, they'll be required to do this? Or will there be an option between cable and this?
Well, as it rolls out, I think the industry will just say, here's your new box or whatever, and here's how you're going to access it.
And it'll be up on a pole?
It'll be on a pole.
And then
wireless.
the homeowner will be charged for the services also?
It'll be just like you get your service
Your
today.
service bill?
Yeah, it'll be $60 a month for internet, whatever
I
it is.
gotcha.
Yep.
Do you have any idea what a normal household it would cost them? Will it be similar to what we pay now? Or?
I suspect it will be similar, but that has not really been. This has not really rolled out in anywhere where it's starting to really
I got you.
be able to understand how it's going to play out.
Will this also be available, say, on Main Street? If you're sitting outside on a bench, you will be able to get it from there too?
This will. I don't know that there'll be a Wi-Fi component. It could be. It's more your TV, your internet. I don't know if they will have hotspots. Comcast is doing some of that right now. I don't know if the industry as a whole will do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. Mr. Sidnor,
I have no questions, Mr. President.
thank you. Ms. Nicholas.
I just have one, just to piggyback off of what Carl said. So basically, the cable companies will be setting the prices for the residents, correct?
Well, you have wired and you have wireless. Mm-hmm. You have wired and you have wireless. But they're going to move. I think they want to take. But ultimately, yes, to answer your question, yes. That medium will now, instead of coming over fiber or a copper cable to your house, it will come off a wireless transmitter on a pole in your residential area or in your business area.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it will take some time. It will take years to complete this transition, but it's going to start soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. Mayor.
I just want to point out one thing, because we're talking about 3 or 4 different things here. Long term, what the goal is to get municipalities and county government out of franchise agreements. That's exactly what they're attempting to do, which is why they're going to the federal government and elsewhere. And that's the goal. And the goal will be to move us out of their way, which means we won't get revenue from those things. Everybody is moving in this direction. So the National League of Cities, U.S. Conference of Mayors, and others are watching all of this because, again, There are right-of-ways, there are city right-of-ways, there are county right-of-ways, and if we're going to allow them to profit off of those, using those right-of-ways, well, then the municipality or county government or whatever it may be, state government, is entitled to some of those, in this case, franchise fees. But that's a long-term goal.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Smalls.
I had a discussion with Mr. Frost because at the Maryland Municipal League, I did take advantage of the mobile workshop and went out around Ocean City to take a look at the few small cell towers that they currently have installed. They have several, I think it was 13 that line the boardwalk in Ocean City that's with several carriers that are on these towers. So it's certainly the wave of the future. We've seen technology move forward by leaps and bounds, and this is just now, as Mr. Frost explained, we're going to see eventually us moving from cable to these small cell towers and other means of communication. So just be prepared because it's coming. 5G. And as the mayor stated, our interest and others is to protect the revenue that we're seeing from these franchise agreements that allow us to do a number of local kinds of broadcasting and other services that we provide through those revenues that come in. So we just have to be vigilant and watch what's going on at state and federal levels in regards to that as well. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Frost.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Remember, Ricochet was a previous vendor that attempted to do this. I don't know if any of those little things are left on poles, but there may be.
They're still on. They're still. You can go up Montrose and see.
What happened was, if I remember correctly, they went out of business. But the reason they went out of business was the other people that wanted to be in the business fought them. They fought Ricochet. Not that Ricochet wasn't a great idea. It was. Put a box on a pole and everybody would have access to it, but you'd pay for that access. The difficulty we have right now, I'll just mention this. If somebody gets a dish, whatever they call that, they own the dish. So when the contract folds, they leave the dish there. They don't come remove it anymore. So what you've got is you've got a lot of what I call West Virginia mushrooms growing all over Laurel. Worse than that are the cable companies. They just leave the cables hanging. They don't even disconnect them anymore. They just turn it off. So again, that's something that the cities, especially old cities like ours, have got to worry about in the future as we go to this new technology. And I didn't look at the one in Ocean City, but I've looked at another one, I don't know, about 10 feet off the top of the telephone pole. Is that correct, Fred? Okay. That's probably that'll be the next iteration of this. It'll be interesting to see how the companies fight over it. Who owns that? Who owns the rights to it? Because there's only going to be so much bandwidth out of that tower. Okay? But more importantly, we need to make sure that as that comes to pass, whatever franchise agreements we have, there's a requirement for those companies, AT&T, Comcast, whoever it is, to remove the wires that are no longer being used. People need to realize I've still got copper into my house. That's how my telephone line is. That's going away too, very soon. So people, and a lot of our older tenants, older residents, are very apprehensive about that. They don't trust those cell phones. They don't know how to use them. So there's a lot of things pushing at each other here. And as the mayor points out, the whole goal of this effort with the small cells is to remove the revenue stream that they have to pay out to local municipalities and counties. But again, people need to realize those telephone poles, that's our right of way. Okay, if everybody's good with this, this will be on the agenda for the work session, the Marion City Council meeting on Monday?
There's nothing.
What?
Just an update.
Oh, I'm sorry, this was the update. Let me come to the second thing for Kevin. I didn't skip it on purpose. I wanted to get to the small cell stuff, Kevin. Recommendation to lease multi-function copiers. Who's doing this? You doing this, Kevin? All right, I apologize. One more question. When do we think that we're going to see this back? Sometime next year? The small cell stuff?
I think September.
Before the election?
I think we're hoping to.
Our piece, what we're doing. Okay. All right, is anybody else working on this in the county?
Yeah, everybody's.
Okay,
doing something.
excellent. Okay, thank you.
What we do now is a multi-function copiers. 5-year leases up. Copiers, one of the few leases we do, but it is very common and it is governance. And our lease is up in. We have Fisher and IT talked all the departments. We got a copy of needs. And based on that discussion, reality is all these multi-function copiers, no matter what make they are, all do the same. They send. So in that discussion, one of the things that came out is we're very happy with our actually happy with sharp copiers, and the discussion was that. Sorry about that. The sharp copiers, our employees know those copiers, and if we were to get switch brands completely, we would end up having to train all our employees in the new copiers. While they do the same things, how you do it is a little different. So what we did is we really got a thing to say. We like DCA imaging. They're responsive. And so we met with them. Our last contract was a state contract. And in that discussion, they proposed a cooperative purchasing, which is a collective of intergovernmental agencies that go out and competitively bid a lot of these major contracts. And in this case, we're looking at copiers. So they took the NJPA collective purchasing agreement for Sharp and compared it to the state contract, and the NJPA was better. In fact, it was actually a lot better. So there's a couple things that come into play here was pricing has come down, both in the pages, color and black and white. Some of the features have gone up, mostly in scanning. Everything else is pretty much the same. The thing that we had in our last contract was the first time we did color. So what happens in this lease is you have a price per month for a copier, and in this case, our total monthly payment for 6 copiers and 3 smart boards, and I guess I'll jump to that now. We have a color copier here and a black and white. We have a color copier at the PD and a black and white. We have a black and white copier at Public Works, and we have a black and white copier at the fire department. The copier at the fire department pays that fee for, and that comes out of their monthly allotment that you give them. Those copiers, we had color last year, and in the lease, you get so many copies a month. In that 5-year, we had no experience, and we said 3,000. Ultimately, we ended up over time up to almost 8,000 a month doing color. It's very popular. So based on all that, we ended up with an agreement now. Our last monthly lease fee was $22.60. This lease fee is going to be $23.18, which is $58 a month more. But what has happened is in that, we are also now getting 8,000 color copies a month. We're getting 35,000 black and white a month, which is a jump of 5,000 a month. And ultimately, based on that, we're going to save about $700 a month on our annual fees. So that's a significant amount of money. So the reality is, what we are recommending is that you approve a 5-year lease with DCA imaging, with NJPA pricing, collective purchasing, and collective purchasing is authorized by the state, and our policy, as long as it's competitively bid, we can do it. All maintenance, it will be done by DCA imaging. We do nothing to these copiers. If they break, we call them. They have a 4-hour response time. If the toner's bad, they send it to us. We usually have some in stock. I replaced a yellow, and we placed a black this morning. They'll immediately send us another one overnight. They do everything. And as I said, we've been very happy with their ability to maintain the copiers and keep them running for us. And with that,
Thanks,
answer any
Kevin.
question.
Mr. DeWalt, do you have any questions?
So ultimately, per month, we're going to have you have it written, a $700 a month savings.
Yeah, approximately. Probably a little bit less than that.
What does the fire department pay per month
About
for their?
$230, I think.
How much?
$230 a month.
Is there any way to, with this savings that we're going to have, to bypass the cost for the fire department and let them just have the copier with no cost?
I think that's a discussion for the city administrator and the senior staff.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. DeWalt. Mr. Sidnor?
No questions, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Nicholas?
No questions.
Mr. Smalls?
Mr. Frost, I can appreciate the efforts that are going into looking at consumption. I'm dealing with the same thing with our copier contract at my job. But I'm curious to know, with the amount of copies that you're stating, particularly color copies, is there any efforts to just reduce the overall paper consumption? I mean, you've got not just the cost of copiers, but you have the cost of paper.
Coming from the city council office where we're trying to go paperless, you all continue to want everything on paper.
With that, Mayor,
I mean, it is discussed, and there is, we say we're not going to copy this. We're going to take it to a local printer. But once people have figured out that a nice color flyer looks better than a black and white, and it does. So
it's interesting. In one hand, we talk about, the advances in technology with small cell towers, et cetera, but, we're also still producing hard copy paper in this day and age where a lot of things are, as you know, transmitted electronically.
Well, I can tell you today that we're putting out our rental licenses, which is about 1,200 letters that typically go out. And today we pushed a button and we sent out 1,200 by email. So we're some of those are going to have to be redone in paper, but that was a significant savings in both cost and in labor of our people stuffing those things and doing all that. So we are looking at all those opportunities, as the mayor said, to go paperless.
Yeah, like I said, I look at the same thing in my agency, so I know exactly what you're dealing with. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Frost.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. I know that I'm not involved in the operational side anymore. But when I was, the biggest savings we had in printing was defaulting all of the printers to two sides. It was not an option. The operator had to press single-sided to get that. And I think I see a lot of that here in City Hall, where we've saved money by going to two-sided. Now, I'm a great appreciator of things that come in color. But more importantly, when it comes on my terminal, my screen so I can see it, it turns out that the biggest cost in my printer at home is the color cartridges. It's not the black and white, it's the color. And I'm sure that the staff is all made aware of that here. We have become very dependent upon multifunction. They call them multifunction, but they're actually copiers, scanners, printers, fax machines, all kinds of things. So we've consolidated some of those functions into a single machine. But in doing that, of course, we've driven up the cost of what people think is a copier. It's not just a copier anymore. I don't know if we'd be able to get along without those multifunction machines. So I applaud your research. I mean, I find it amazing that Maryland, their costs are more expensive. It would seem to me that somebody down there needs to start looking at their contract real closely.
Yeah, state contracts are not always cheaper.
Yeah, that's our tax dollars at work. Okay, so, Mayor, go ahead.
Kevin, and again, I'll respond to Mr. DeWalt. The reason the fire department has the copier, when we got this contract, we offered it to the fire department, the rescue squad, and to the museum. I want to see us do that again before we go back out as we redo the new contract to see if they're interested. So I don't want to open up that door. I know it's nice to be able to give everything away free, but if we do that, it could be two other machines that we're looking at, and it could cost the city. So I just wanted to point that out, that there are others that we have asked if they're interested in riding with us on it.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, if everybody's in agreement with this, it'll be on the agenda for approval at Monday night's Mayor and City Council meetings. Everybody okay? Okay, sir. We're good to go. We'll move to the last agenda item, number 6, consideration of the recommendation for fleet purchase, backhoe, Department of Public Works. And Joseph is you have the microphone, Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, and the council. The department is recommending purchase of one 4-wheel drive backhoe, and the purchase of the vehicle is in the scheduled replacement program and will increase the fleet. This is because we're going to retain the old one to work in the snow shop, and then this one will help us to do more work. That's all I got. So
And the cost, Joseph, is how much?
It's $95,617.20.
Okay, and where's the contract we're getting this from?
We're getting it from Grove Tractor Mid-Atlantic, and it's under the NJPA that Kevin referred to.
Same place, okay. Yeah. All right, and we're going to maintain the old one as a backup, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. And Public Works uses this for road work. We also use it occasionally for other types of work. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll be using it to facilitate storm debris removal.
Right.
And we'll also, the crew will use it to clean out river debris, preventing flooding.
Excellent. Okay. Questions, Mr. DeWalt?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Sidnor?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Like you said, it's going to increase the fleet. What's the current shelf life on a backhoe? Is every 14 years or something a backhoe need to be replaced?
The current one we have is 2004.
Right.
And so that one, we're just going to be maintaining it to do the snow emergency and as a backup.
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying though, does it does it need to be replaced so many, like a shelf life? I know it's 2004 though, but what's the current condition of the backhoe now? You said that, my question is, I'm trying to say that at 14 years or 15 years or 6 years or whatever, et cetera, does a backhoe need to be replaced based on mileage or whatever, things of that nature?
Not really. Again, we use it from year to year, and the shelf life depend upon the user, but the snow, the rust,
Right.
it kind of affect it.
Right.
So the new one will extend even the life of the tooth.
Yeah, I got that. So currently, the one we have right now is pretty in good shape.
Yes.
It don't really need to be replaced.
It still needs to be replaced because it's old. But if we have a newer one, we won't be using it at the the salt shed. We won't be using the new one, the salt shed. The old one will maintain that at the salt shed, while we use the other one for the snow removal.
Yeah.
Keith, it's got they don't really go by mileage, go by engine time and those types of things.
Okay.
With it, that truck is used in the salt. When we're doing snow a lot, what we had talked about using like we did with the others, to be able to use it throughout other departments, but as the backup. But the one they have now is, it could last another 15 years, or it could go, in a year from now. But there really is no backup hard piece of equipment such as that we have for a backup.
Okay.
So what you'll see is the new one move in and the other one be shared throughout the different departments.
Okay. So basically, just need a backup one just in case, since we got the money. I got you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sidnor. Ms. Nicholas?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Ms. Smalls?
No questions.
Thank you. I have no questions. If we're all right with this will be on the agenda for award at the Monday's Mayor and City Council meeting. And I want to thank everybody. And gee, 7 o'clock, everybody gets to go home. Meeting adjourned.